Hi guys, welcome to another video. Hope you're all keeping well. Now this is going to be the third video in my James Herbert book review series because I want to talk about Jim's third novel which he published in 1976 right after the fog, and that novel is called The Survivor. Now, as per usual, before I say anything further about the novel and give me thoughts on the storyline as a whole, I'll just read you the synopsis just to give you an idea if you're not familiar with the story. David Keller, that's the main protagonist, is the survivor, the only person to escape from the flaming wreckage of a 747 jumbo jet. It was an accident whose aftermath leaves a lingering sense of evil and menace in the quiet countryside. Later, strange events begin to occur. A schoolboy is found decapitated on a railway track. A couple fall to their deaths from a bedroom window, but it seems that the man has already been dead for some time. David Keller sets about retracing the events of the crash and uncovers the truth, a truth almost too shocking to believe. So there you go, guys. There's a great clip there of a very, very young James Herbert, guys. Yeah, the master of horror. God rest his soul. Yeah. Okay, then, guys. I'm going to give me thoughts now on the novel as a whole, and I'll give you the rating afterwards. Yeah, it was okay. It's not one of my favourite Jim Herbert novels, I must admit, but it was fairly enjoyable read. It wasn't as bloody and really in your face as The Rats and The Fog. But as I say, still a very, a very enjoyable novel for all that. It's more of a kind of like it's more of a kind of supernatural drama, as I say, the main protagonist, David Keller, he's this co-pilot and he's this sole survivor of this horrendous plane crash near Eton, and the way Herbert describes it, and that, it starts with a bang and the sole man witnesses this, oh God, awful plane crash, and the way Herbert describes it, the burning wreckage and the plane, bodies strewn all over the field and that, and he is the master of the descriptive prose, Jim, when it comes to writing, really, lurid horror scenes. Yeah, okay, so basically what happens then, Keller's the only survivor. He hasn't got a single cut or bruise on his body, and everybody's baffled. The authorities are baffled why he's the only survivor. He's lost two of his friends, like his stewardess girlfriend Kathy and his mentor, I think it's called David Rogan. But yeah, as I say, Keller is the sole survivor, hence the title, The Survivor. And then the story revolves around them trying to piece together why he survived this horrendous plane crash, why he's the only one that's come out unscathed while everybody else has died, and in the plane disaster, and you get all sorts of supernatural things starting happening all in and around Eton. This weird creepy burnt doll keeps appearing and that, and you hear these strange voices and that, and these nebulous shapes, these like as if they're from the afterlife and that, strange voices, shapes everywhere and that, appearing and that, terrorizing people. And of course you get the traditional Herbert's vignettes, peppered throughout the story. He might move to a story about a couple and that, and then he might move on to a vicar. He tells the stories and that. He's very, as I said before, he's very good at conjuring up these character vignettes only to tell you a bit about the character, builds the character up only to dispose of them in the most gruesome ways imaginable. He got that down to a T, and that's one of the top things I enjoy about James Herbert's novels, especially when he writes these epics and that. He crams in these vignettes and that, as well as the main story, the main character. He's very good at peppering, branching off into little sort of like potted biographies, if you like, as I say, only to kill them in the, as I say, the most horrific ways imaginable. Very, very good. And again, he excels in this book, with these minor characters. So yeah, as I say, supernatural, Eton gets plagued by supernatural manifestations and that, and it's got you guessing right through to the end. I must say, guys, although I did enjoy this novel, the end left me a little bit, it left me a little bit dry, to be honest. And I won't give away the ending, but I didn't think it was as good an ending as the other two books, but that's just my opinion, but other than that, it's a very enjoyable read. If you like horror stories involving disasters like plane crashes and that, and ghostly apparitions appearing in the aftermath, I think you will enjoy The Survivor. Yeah, but there's the back there, guys. Yeah, a tale of death and of an evil which transcends death. Yeah, so I've had this paperback for quite a few years, as I have the other Herbert books, you know. So yeah, I say it's a big mystery in that, you know, and there's even a medium. A medium comes onto the scene called Hobbs, and he tries to help Keller piece together what happened, like why he survived this horrendous plane crash and that, you know. So you've got the medium coming into it, and then you've got the authorities and that, you know, the wranglers, like he asked with the authorities, Keller and that, you know. And as I say, his airline puts him on leave and that, extended leave, you know, so he's fully recovered basically, like particularly emotionally in that, you know, because he's got like amnesia as well. He doesn't remember a thing of the events leading up to the plane crash, you know. So you've got that, you know. It's a real puzzle, this, guys. It's one of James Herbert's most puzzling books and that, you know. You sort of like, you've got to try and you know, it keeps you hooked, you know. You've got to try and work out yourself what you think could have happened, and all the while you're trying to do that, you've got these chapters where these minor characters encounter weird apparitions and that, you know. Some of the time they end up in very tragic ways and that, you know, but I won't give away the deaths and that. I'll let you, if you haven't read The Survivor, I'll let you get the book for yourself, you know, read it for yourself. But so yeah, I've read this book about twice and that, but as I say, although it is a good story, it's not as enjoyable as in your face horror as The Fog and the Rats, you know. But as I say, it is worth a read and that, you know, especially if you're a fan of James Herbert, and it's still a couple of books, you know, you've got to sort of like read and that, you know. I would highly recommend it. Yeah, a very much supernaturally based story, you know, dealing with the supernatural, the afterlife, horrible plane crashes and that, you know. You've got all the atmosphere, you've got all the ingredients there, guys, to make like you know, what turned out to be a very, very enjoyable mystery and a good, you know, and a jolly good ghost story, you know. But as I say, that the ending left me a little bit flat. But I'll no say no more about the ending. I'll let you get the book and read it for yourself and see what you think. Oh yeah, and they actually made a movie of this in around about 1981, starring Robert Powell and David Hemmings. But it was terrible, guys. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. They took all the horror out of it, you know, all the bloody and violent deaths, and he made it like a made-for-TV drama. Oh, I was bored out of my mind, guys, watching The Survivor, the movie version. I bought the DVD a couple of years ago. I thought, that's it. That's going in the bin. You know, no, I didn't throw it in the bin. I think I sold it on eBay, somewhere like that. Oh, yeah, very, very poor movie adaptation of James Herbert's third novel, The Survivor. You'd hardly recognise the story, apart from the Keller, the main protagonist, you know, the co-pilot. You'd hardly recognise, you know, it was actually from this James Herbert novel. I don't know why they did that, guys. I don't know why they took all the horror out of the movie and that. You know, I hate it when they do that. They dilute it and that, you know, took all the horror out. So, you know, as I say, like, it was just a very, very worse than mediocre, very, very boring, dull as dishwater movie. Yeah. Okay then, guys, I'm going to give a review now of The Survivor. Yeah, I think it's lost a couple of points for that awful ending. But I think I'll give it, I don't know, 7 out of 10. Yeah. Have you read The Survivor? What did you think of it? Do you share my opinion? It's not as good as The Fog and the Rats yet. Leave your comments down below. I'd be very interested, to read your comments. Have you seen the movie The Survivor? What did you think of it? Do you share my rather low opinion of it? Feel free to discuss. Yeah, always love talking about James Herbert. My number one favourite horror writer, and still very, very sadly missed today. So, but as I say, it's not as good as The Rats and The Fog, and as I say, like, if you haven't read it, I would highly recommend it. Don't pass it by. I think you will derive some enjoyment from it. And that, with all the creepy supernatural elements and that go on and that, and that weird doll that keeps popping up all the time, and then David Keller, the main protagonist, coming emerging from that horrible plane crash unscathed, and that, not a mark on him. So it's really got you guessing, why did he survive that plane crash? Yeah, good mystery and a good dollop of horror thrown in for good measure. All right then, guys, that concludes my review of James Herbert's The Survivor. I'll be back again very, very soon to review James Herbert's fourth book. Okay, guys, take care of yourselves. Bye for now. If you enjoyed watching this video, guys, you might like to check out my website at www.alantoner.com. You'll be able to find out a little bit more about my work as a writer and all the books I have published to date. Thanks for watching.